intelligence assessment. Comey used the dossier to justify spying on the Trump campaign. Comey knew the dossier was false, lied to the FISA court. Okay, I'm with you 80%. You'd have to prove Comey knew the dossier was false. You have to prove that. But I'm with you, Brennan, we'll see. Going to take skilled prosecutors in the Justice Department to bring charges. Michael, great coverage on Russiagate. Bill, legacy news networks won't even acknowledge the story. Isn't that a disgrace? My God. John Abercrombie, Cape Girardeau, Missouri. What the heck is Trump thinking? The Fed was designed to be independent. They aren't supposed to respond to the whims of politicians. If rates are cut just to please politicians, then those rates could cause inflation to soar again. I'm a retired banker. I often disagree with the Fed, but in this case, I think it would be a bad move for the Fed to cave into Trump's demands. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to argue with it. I'd leave the Fed alone if I were president. But you got to understand the Trump mindset. He believes that the whole swamp is trying to take him down. And there's got a lot of evidence there. Keith Wilson, Zachary, Louisiana. Bill, you mentioned that no doubt Republicans have put forth any immigration bill. Why is the current laws on the books sufficient? Because they're obsolete. Biden destroyed the whole thing, the whole asylum process, everything. That law doesn't deal with dreamers, doesn't deal with anything. You need new immigration law. In a moment, something you might not know. Hey, O'Reilly here. You know what drives me crazy? How our healthcare system makes it hard and expensive to get medicine we need. Insurance companies tell your doctor what to do. Pharmacies refuse to fill valid prescriptions. And good luck getting the treatments you actually want. But finally, someone's stepping up. All Family Pharmacy is a family-owned business that puts people first and believes in medical freedom. They are changing how Americans can get fast, affordable access to trusted medications. Just go online, choose from more than 200 options. Antibiotics, ivermectin, NAD, plus even your daily meds. A doctor reviews your order, writes the prescription, and your meds ship straight to your door. It's simple, it's smart, and it's about time. So please go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use code Bill10 to save 10%.
From the heart of Missouri, straight to your favorite St. Louis shelves. Discover Stowlock Ozark Highlands Whiskey and Inversion Vodka. Crafted 100% in Missouri's Ozark Highlands with unmatched smoothness and bold, refined flavor. These award-winning spirits are redefining what local means. Want to win a bottle? Visit stoneledgedistillery.com/win and register today. Stowlock Whiskey, Inversion Vodka. Proudly made in Missouri. Poured wherever quality matters.
Looking for treasures from the past? Discover Mimi's Antiques Attic, your locally owned and family-operated treasure hunt destination. Explore 16,000 square feet of antiques, crafts, collectibles, and designer items across 225 unique rental spaces. Open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 7, and Sundays, 10 to 6, at 1000 Warrenton Shops in Warrenton. Mimi's Antiques Attic, where every visit uncovers new treasures.
Now the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. 164 years ago today, President Abraham Lincoln signed the first law allowing the government to tax a citizen's personal income. The temporary measure eventually expired, but later returned as a constitutional amendment. Here is the story. Since the nation's founding, tariffs raised money. They were placed on goods like tea and tobacco. During the Civil War, Lincoln needed more cash to pay soldiers. So he approved the first income tax, the rate 3% on all earnings above $800. In the early 20th century, the USA was growing at a rapid rate. Lawmakers in Washington needed money to fuel westward expansion, strengthen the military, and build railroads. In February 1913, Congress ratified the 16th Amendment to the Constitution. The law simply states, quote, Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived. In its first year, the average tax rate was 1%, highest 7% for the wealthy Americans. There were no adjustments, deductions, or loopholes. Today, the federal government takes in $5 trillion every year, half of that coming from personal income tax. The typical household hands over 23% of its pay to the IRS. And here's something else you might not know. If you live in the liberal blue states, the government is coming for more than half your money. In New York, there is a prepared food tax. A bagel, for example, will cost 8% more if you want someone to slice it for you. In Connecticut, you will find 26 different fees on cable TV, including a federal line charge, local number, portability tax, even a port penalty to plug your cable box into the wall. If you are looking to keep most of your money to avoid the IRS taxation, you could head to Alaska. Residents there pay zero tax on sales and enjoy the lowest property fees in the country. Back after this. Are you feeling the impact of recent timeshare industry changes? Now more than ever, the costs of timeshare ownership far outweigh the benefits. My friends at Lone Star Transfer are the only company I trust to help you get out. Our listeners' positive feedback demonstrates why I've supported the company for years. For more than a decade, they have helped over 20,000 owners get out of the timeshare. Their exclusive options can help you get out faster and easier, more than any other option in the country. They are the only company that will give you a written guarantee and release you from your timeshare in a specific time frame. With an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau, thousands of 5-star reviews, customer service is their top priority. For free consultation and a guaranteed solution, please call 855-551-7066. That's 855-551-7066, or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
News Talk STL.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. A wildfire threatens structures northeast of Santa Maria, California.
The Gifford Fire northeast of Santa Maria, California has burned more than 82,000 acres and was just 7% contained. As of Tuesday morning, Santa Barbara County Fire Captain Scott Safecheck says it's a difficult wildfire to fight, with almost 900 structures being threatened and already more than 500 residences evacuated. He says around 2,000 personnel, including hand crews, are working to contain the Gifford Fire, and some progress has been made. I'm Julie Walker.
Multiple people have been sickened by raw milk in Florida. Lisa Dwyer has more.
Florida is reporting 21 cases of Campylobacter and E. coli infections linked to drinking raw milk. 7 people have been hospitalized, at least 2 cases with severe complications. All of those initial cases are linked to the same farm. The Food and Drug Administration and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention say that raw milk is one of the riskiest foods that people can consume. Bacterial infections can cause gastrointestinal illness and in some cases may lead to serious complications. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is hinting at wider military action in devastated Gaza, even as some forming army and intelligence chiefs call for an end to the war. The new pressure on Netanyahu comes as the Hamas-led Gaza Health Ministry on Tuesday said the war's Palestinian death toll has surpassed 61,000. Previous leaders of Israel's Shin Bet Internal Security Service, Mossad spy agency, and the military are among those speaking out. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 62 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
I'm an artist and I'm in my studio. I listen to the radio all day and I'm hearing the ads about Relief Factor. And I've got pain in my neck and it's getting worse. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and order this. 2 weeks later, I've got much better range of motion. If you're experiencing pain at a certain point in life, I would get Relief Factor.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to relieffactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
When you bundle renters and auto with Progressive, you can save while protecting your most valuable possessions, like your really expensive limited edition sneakers and your new suit for your cousin's wedding. Except you never actually bought the suit because you can't stop buying sneakers. So you show up to the wedding looking like you're going grocery shopping. But hey, at least your sneakers will look good in the pictures until you're cropped out of every last one of them. So go ahead and get Progressive so you can save while protecting the things that matter to you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Definitely heating up a little bit more each day we go this week. Overnight tonight, we're dry, partly cloudy, light winds, a little bit muggy in the morning with a low of 70. And then a high of 91 in the afternoon, partly cloudy skies, light winds throughout the day. Heat index up to around 94, so you'll notice the humidity, but it's not excessive. Overnight into Thursday morning, a low of 73, a high of 92, heat index up to around 96. As it's another hot day for Thursday, feeling more like summer with mostly sunny skies and staying dry. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serve you St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
You know what's going on?
Have a great awakening.
You see through the smoke screen.
It's cool to be woke.
News Talk STL.
Until it's not.
News, analysis, opinion. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
To run to states like New York and Illinois to protest redistricting is kind of like running to Wisconsin to protest cheese. It's just kind of outrageous. Those are New York and Illinois, 2 hallmark states. They've already done redistricting to eliminate Republicans.
You said in addition to abandoning their offices, these legislators may also have committed felonies. What is the felony?
So very simply, it would be bribery if any lawmaker took money to perform or to refuse to perform an act in the legislature. And the reports are these legislators have been they sought money and they offered money to skip the vote.
4:06, and welcome into the Tuesday edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. It is August 5th. As we said yesterday, my partner, Tim Jones, is on a much-needed vacation with his family, but I am so happy. I can't even express myself, really. We've got a special treat for you today. Usually, On Tuesday, we have David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy for the Show Me Institute. He does this segment at 425. But today he is in studio with me for the entire show. David, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you to the audience with that delightful applause. And to Chris for the nice welcome. Delighted to be here.
Now, as I promised you at the beginning of the show, I want to give you 30 seconds right off the top to do your disclaimer, because your day job is Director of Municipal Policy for the Show Me Institute, but you are not here in that capacity.
Today. I got off work at 4 o'clock. So I'm here volunteering my time to help with this show and be just a tiny part of the great fun we're going to have. So yes, I'm free. I'm not in nonprofit status. Dave Stokes on his own.
You know, with your family being involved in law, I expected a more legalese disclaimer there. Something really legalese. That's the best you got?
Yeah, you should have done what John Cleese in A Fish Called Wanda. Remember that disclaimer he gave when he's being held upside down by the great St. Louis Kevin Kline? Something like that, maybe.
Now, I've got to get serious before we get into all the topics, because we have a lot to talk about today. But you and I, David, have been friends for, I almost hate to say this because it makes me sound old, for at least 25 years.
Yep.
We have a dear friend in common who is no longer with us, Sherman Parker, who was my political mentor, political best friend. You knew him way before I did. As I sit here in the News Talk STL studios, co-hosting a show with my name on it, and you are guest hosting, what would Sherman Thompson Parker be thinking right now?
He'd probably be laughing a little bit with us and a little bit at us. I think somewhere in the middle. I think there'd be a lot of laughter.
Yeah,
but he'd be proud of us and happy for us.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. So David Stokes is here, guest hosting with me today. David, you heard that clip about redistricting. That is the big soap opera in the nation today. Texas is leading that. They have ran off to Illinois. I think some have gone to California, to New York. I want to localize it a little bit because Cindy O'Loughlin, who is the Senate President pro tem, said on a radio station this morning that it's likely that lawmakers will be called into a special session to redraw our maps to eliminate Congressman Cleaver's district, the 5th district, I think that is, and have a 7-1 map. Do you think this is going to happen?
Oh, I don't know if it's going to happen. I do think it's a dangerous road to go down. I've served on a redistricting committee before. I served on the 2010 St. Louis County Council Redistricting Commission. So went through that whole process. Took about a year. It was very interesting. And then in the end, we couldn't agree on anything, and a court redraw the lines. And they only redrew the lines barely. Yeah. Like, we should have been able to agree on that. Anyway, I think the warning sign that people should heed is New York from 2021, where the New York Democratic Party went crazy with their partisan gerrymandering here, trying to draw a seat that had, I believe, only 1 or 2 Republican seats for the whole state of New York, which has enormous parts of upstate New York that are very Republican, and parts of Long Island and Staten Island and elsewhere. Anyway, they got so greedy on it that their own courts threw it out, and they had to go with a slightly less partisan map. But they still tried to do it, but they tried to cut it so fine that in 2022, Republicans did pretty well. They ended up taking seats that the Democrats thought they were going to hold because they were so, I should say, partisan in their gerrymandering. So if you try to cut these margins too thin for partisan purposes, there is the risk that, nobody knows how the voters are going to go in the next year. There's the risk that you cut the margins too thin.
And just a side note on that totally gerrymandered map that the Democrats tried to pass, it was thrown out, and the new map got us George Santos.
Right. Yeah. It was, they went so far as George. Right.
That's his name, right? Did I get it right? George, right?
Thank God for what's his? Thank God for small favors.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But there's a danger to it. And I think if people are looking at the maps of Missouri's congressional districts and thinking you can do a 7-1 map, I'm sure you can in certain election results, but you can also have years, and who knows what 2026 is going to be. You can also have years where a map cut so fine like that could end up being 5-3 or 4-4. And it's just really dangerous. And I think you probably have listeners out there. A lot of people think the frustrating part is some states try to do it right and draw maps that are concise, contiguous, fair, communities of interest, all the way that you're supposed to legally do it. And I think what Texas has done, at least before now, and then other states are just being completely partisan and ridiculous. And so how do you respond to that? It's like this unilateral disarmament argument. And I don't like the idea of 50 states redrawing their maps, 2 or 3 times a decade. I mean, that's not where we should go. That's not to say that I don't have certain sympathy for knowing that some Illinois and other states have drawn such incredibly partisan maps that you understand the sympathy for trying to react and do it too.
Let me ask you this here in Missouri, and Tim and I talked about this the last couple of weeks. His concerns with this of it could dilute some, Republican districts in the future, and somehow they could, turn blue after many cycles. But Missouri's pretty red, and the proposed maps that I saw regarding Cleaver's district would, of course, take some people out of the 4th district into the 6th district. Those are pretty red districts. Could Missouri, escape from having something like this burn us in the future if we do this?
Sure, anything can happen, but that's the hard part of predicting what those votes are. And sometimes, even if something isn't politically realigned, every party has bad election cycles. Every party has a cycle where you think it's going to go your way, and then it really doesn't at all. Either your people just stay home because they're angry, the other side shows up because they're excited or maybe angry. So it's just a really tricky game to play. And I wish we had more. I wish we had throughout the country more redistricting done the way that we do it at the state level here in Missouri. We have this commission, and then we have certain rules, and those commissions have failed at times in recent years, and judges stepped in. But I think the way that we've drawn our state Senate and state House maps has been pretty good. And I think because we have so many House districts that it's sort of there's not much of a way to gerrymander the state House when you have 163 seats the size of Missouri. And I wish there was more of that at the national level, which brings to mind the real question of should we have a larger United States House of Representatives, which would negate the effects of a lot of this gerrymandering.
There's other talk in other states, as I said, of redistricting. Vice President J.D. Vance is on his way to Indiana today. Republicans control 7 of the 9 districts there. They're talking about doing it there. Republicans aren't super excited about it, but that's one aspect they're looking at. Democrats in California, they have come up with a new map. It's 5 seats to counter Texas's 5 seats, but the only difference is in Texas, the governor can just call a special session. In California, they have redistricting commissions, like you said, David, that draw these lines. And what the governor of California is proposing is taking it to the voters this November to change that so that the legislature and the governor can fight fire with fire. I think that's what we're going to end up just seeing.
And I don't want to sound naive, but that's really not good. That's really not good government to have every state changing their maps for partisan advantage at the end of every new election. I mean, it's worked pretty well throughout American history to do it after the census. Obviously, that's sort of when it's supposed to be done. And I do think it's a dangerous road to be going down. One that I do predict that the people who think they win in the short run will rue that. I think they will be proven in many states in the same way that the New York Democrats were proven wrong. They got so greedy in what they wanted that it ended up hurting them. And I think that's the result you would see in a lot of states, is that you think what you're doing is the smart play, but trying to predict the future is very, very, very difficult.
It is.
And you're going to end up regretting it in many instances, I think. And that could happen in Missouri, too.
And finally, one last state, blue state, that is talking about doing this is Maryland. They have 8 congressional seats. The Democrats control 7. One of them is Republican, of course. They tried to do this in 2022, get rid of the Republican seat. A judge threw it out, David. He said that if this was extreme partisan gerrymandering. Now, when a judge in Maryland says that the Democrats have gone too far, I think that speaks volumes.
It does, and that's not where we should want to be as a country, because that district in Maryland, which is the one Republican district, it's sort of picture Maryland in your mind, where it's all sort of east of Virginia, and then there's that real sort of narrow thing, and then it goes sort of westward, and it gets wider out there near West Virginia and the like. And that's not surprisingly the rural part of Maryland and the Republican part of Maryland. So trying to disenfranchise those people by cutting that into, instead of a square or a triangle, whatever it is now, making it just 3 or 4 different lines, all going into Baltimore and Annapolis. That's ridiculous. That's what, when it was originally proposed, maps in 2000 in St. Louis County, when I was not on the commission but was working at the St. Louis County Council at the time, and you came shortly. That's what the Democrats wanted to do in 2000 in order to guarantee a Democrat majority. They wanted to sort of form concentric rings around the city of St. Louis to sort of neuter West County. It didn't pass at the time, thankfully. You can go too far with this gerrymandering, which, as we all know, has been around a long time. It was, I think, as most of your listeners know, named after Elbridge Gerry, who was a founding father. Like, it's been around since the dawn of American political history.
So that makes it okay, in a sense. It's part of all fair and love and war and politics, right? It's just part of the game. Dave, you have been part of the political game.
There's plenty of people who would believe that passionately.
All right, let's switch cases for just a second. Let me just say this. Joey is loving today's show. You know why? Because he says he loves the local conversation more than the national stuff. He loves when you're on. So we're talking a lot of local stuff today, Dave. So Joey is having a ball. I just want you to
here
know
for you,
that.
Joey.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Can we play cut 1, Mr. Producer?
Big changes are coming to how the city of St. Louis awards construction contracts, and it could deal a major blow to minority and women-owned businesses. Well, starting Monday, the city will stop issuing new contracts under its minority and women-owned business enterprise program. That's following threats that federal funding could be pulled.
And 419, that is, of course, the announcement that the minority business programs have been canceled by the current mayor, Tashara Jones. A former mayor was on Facebook carping, saying that the threats by President Trump, she should have ignored those and kept the program going. Dave, your overall thoughts on minority business enterprise situation, especially when we learn that women seem to profit from these more than minorities?
Well, I think it's great that they're pulling this program. I think it's great that, to quote, I forget which Supreme Court justice was. I think it was Gorsuch. He wrote in a recent discrimination case where he was on the side of opposing discrimination and probably, I think, repealing pre-existing affirmative action laws.
Right.
I think he wrote something to the tune of, the way to stop and defeat discrimination based on race is to stop discriminating based on race.
That was actually Chief Justice Roberts that said that.
All right, even better. Thank you. But it's the same with these gender here. So to take, this is tax dollars, and these programs say, all right, we're going to have these publicly funded programs, and we're going to set aside. Now, in the city of St. Louis, I guess they are goals instead of hard laws.
Yeah, right.
trying to be fair to everybody,
right? And
to say we're going to give a set amount to minority-owned, a set amount to women-owned. We know that for decades now, there have been plant people, either women who are technically owning a business but don't really own it, and minority fronts and plants. So that's been a real problem with it for a long time. But to try to just simplify it at all, I really don't think the city of St. Louis is going to start discriminating against minority-owned or women-owned businesses for city contracts. I think we've gotten to a point, and probably been there for quite some time, where everybody's going to be treated in their application equally, and they can be chosen based on how they can do the job. And was there a time where these types of programs were necessary? There may well have been, but I think we've been away from that time for a long time, and I'm happy that the Trump administration is pushing back on it, and good move for Mayor Spencer, who probably doesn't even agree that it's a bad thing. She's just complying with the new laws here.
You know, speaking of wasted tax dollars, coming up, Dave, we're going to speak with Representative Ben Keathley about the city of Chesterfield purchasing a office building for parking space. He's going to talk with him at 4:24. 4:45, of course, Chris's Corner got a lot of Trump and immigration news. We'll go over that. 5:24, we'll speak with Dan Schneider, Vice President of the Media Research Center. We'll talk about the Attorney General launched a formal investigation into Google, OpenAI, and Meta after studies revealed disturbing bias in their platforms. And then we'll end the show at 5:45 with something light with today's guest host, David Stokes. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
I deeply regret any distress that my comments may have caused you or your family, and I hereby undertake not to repeat any such slander at any time in the future.
Okay.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Definitely heating up a little bit more each day we go this week. Overnight tonight, we're dry, partly cloudy, light winds, a little bit muggy in the morning with a low of 70. And then a high of 91 in the afternoon, partly cloudy skies, light winds throughout the day. Heat index up to around 94. So you'll notice the humidity, but it's not excessive. Overnight into Thursday morning, a low of 73, a high of 92, heat index up to around 96. As it's another hot day for Thursday, feeling more like summer with mostly sunny skies and staying dry. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey, if you're looking for a bank that truly knows and serves the St. Louis community, let me tell you about my bank, Royal Banks of Missouri. They're a full-service, independent community bank founded right here in St. Louis by local businessmen. They've been around since 1964, and I trust them with both my personal and business accounts. Their service is outstanding, and their team is committed to helping people and business succeed. 60 years later, they're still locally owned and headquartered in University City, where Dave and I both live, with 16 convenient locations across St. Louis, St. Charles, Illinois, and Northeast Missouri. And they're doubling down on their roots. Royal Banks is moving its corporate headquarters to Olive and McKnight. In September 2025 will be the grand opening. They're renewing their commitment to their original home of University City. Whether you're looking for everyday banking or commercial financial solutions, you'll find their personalized service is second to none. Visit royalbanksofmo.com to learn more. Royal Banks of Missouri, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
As Tim Jones has been telling you, when life changes, you need someone you can trust. And that's Todd Sivia. At Sivia Law, we're dedicated to helping you through life's transitions, specializing in estate planning and elder law. With 7 convenient locations in the area, expert guidance is always close by. Call 833-995-WILL, 833-995-WILL, or visit civialaw.com. And don't forget, the first 10 people to tell them Tim Jones sent me get a free $300 strategy session.
For over 50 years, Di Gregorio's Italian Market has been serving up a taste of Italy right here in St. Louis. Family owned and operated, nestled in the heart of the hill. From homemade sausage and meatballs to spadini, pizzas, pastas, and sauces, our wide variety of Italian specialties will transport your taste buds straight to Rome. For a truly authentic Italian shopping experience, visit your friends at Di Gregorio's. Shop local, shop Di Gregorio's Italian Market, where every bite tells a story.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Tether roof off, we gonna tether roof off the mother sucker. Tether roof off the sucker. Tether roof off, we gonna tether roof off the mother sucker. Tether roof
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Chesterfield City Council will consider a proposal to buy an active, fully leased office building.
The city would pay $17.3 million for the fully leased building and garage.
It's not in the core mission of the city of Chesterfield to be in the business of owning an office building.
Former Chesterfield Mayor Bob Nation says the city should not be in the landlord business. He fears eventually the property value could go down and the deal could backfire.
This, I think, has the potential for costing the city millions.
428 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. And my partner here for today, David Stokes, he is chomping at the bit on this. He can barely stand still. He wants to comment on this. But before we do that, we have on the line Representative Ben Keathley, who represents Chesterfield. Representative, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Chris?
I am doing fantastic. Now, I have to be honest with you. I saw this story on the Post-Dispatch this morning, but I did not read the story, did not get into it. Tell our listeners exactly what's going on there.
Well, you and your listeners would be forgiven for not knowing this story because the council's been holding executive sessions, meaning hidden from the public meetings about this for probably the better part of the year. I think the reason nothing's moved forward is because you heard from former Mayor Nation, who was mayor until April this year. He had been vetoing transactions or threatening to veto. It's unclear because not everything has come out from the executive session meetings, but we know they haven't moved forward with the deal yet, but they're voting to do that now in a public meeting here in the coming weeks. Essentially what's going on is there's an office building that sits right kind of across the street from the mall between that and Chesterfield Central Park. We have an appraisal back on that puts it around 14 something odd $14 million. Yet the offer the council's discussing is $17 million. It's unclear why the city wants to purchase this building other than just saying, oh, it's a good investment opportunity, which isn't a role for government. But also the idea of paying somewhere in the vicinity of $3 million over the actual value of something leaves a lot of taxpayers in Chesterfield scratching their heads.
I mean, Ben, I saw you at the meeting. This is David, obviously. I saw you at the meeting last night. I went there sort of skeptical of everything I'd heard, but I wanted to listen and learn a lot more. And I came out just really amazed that Chesterfield was even thinking about doing this. Why does Chesterfield possibly want to get in the commercial landlord business? What possible reason would a municipality have to try to become a commercial landlord? And how are they even allowed to do that by state law? And how can you change that state law to prevent them from doing this?
Well, we really shouldn't have to change it. The voters should be able to hold these people accountable when they make questionable, risky speculation decisions, treating our tax dollars like they're managing a hedge fund almost. But this, unfortunately, is not new for Chesterfield. Chesterfield has made repeated mistakes in the commercial real estate market, buying up land or renting and leasing land with no real goal or purpose in sight, just thinking, oh, we might want it, it might obtain value, it might be something worth holding in the future. And they've wasted a lot of tax dollars already. Everyone remembers the front page of the Post-Dispatch, or people in Chesterfield certainly do, from several years back when we had the 10-year lease on the Dorak property. That was over $1 million loss. The city of Chesterfield has been sitting on housing mosquitoes on vacant, undeveloped land in the valley for the better part of the 21st century that they bought with no plan and still have no plan in that land. Nothing ever came to fruition there. This looks like it's lining up in a long list of questionable real estate decisions by the city of Chesterfield. I'd hate to see us repeat mistakes we've done several times over.
Speaking with District 101 Representative Ben Keathley. Representative, all three of us have been in politics a long time, and usually when you have situations like this, one of the first questions that are asked is follow the money, or maybe not a question, but a direction. Do we know who's getting paid in this real estate deal? And are there, in these other questionable deals, are there certain people that seem to be profiting?
Well,
Or do we
it's
know
hard to
that?
say. The building is held in kind of a bunch of LLCs or in an LLC. It's Missouri doesn't publish ownership information on who owns LLCs, so we don't really know where the money's going. It is a question I certainly have. I think a lot of people in Chesterfield have, particularly when the offer the city wants to make is so far above the appraised value. Who is getting that money? And right now, it's not very clear who out there would actually who owns the building personally, whether who would profit on that. The only thing that's clear is that we're paying more for something that's not worth as much as they want to offer.
And is there a bidding war or something going on? And the reason why they want to pay $3 million more than what it's appraised for? Are there other entities wanting to buy this property as well?
I don't know. I mean, the fact that it hasn't sold yet suggests something about the market for this building. The fact that they want to, offload the building probably suggests that it's not exactly the risk-free moneymaker that the council tried to portray last night at the meeting to the public.
Ben, I have to admit, I mean, you sort of hinted at something just there. Yes, it might not be legally required for that LLC to disclose their owners, but Chesterfield or their members or their partners, but Chesterfield certainly has every right to ask them to, and to say, we request that you, since this is tax money, you publish or make known who are the partners that own this building. And so the voters and the taxpayers can know that. And then if the building owners refuse, as they would have a right to do, Chesterfield, another reason, probably the fifth or sixth good reason at this point to walk away. But it's crazy that they're going to use the tax dollars to buy it and nobody knows who's potentially benefiting here.
Well, if you're overpaying for an asset, I think there'll be more than just a few voters the next time around that will be asking, who did you give our money to? I'm not sure that even the council or anyone in the city of Chesterfield has the answers to that or not, but that is certainly something I'd want to know because I think there'll be a lot of questions asked as they move forward with this deal.
Representative, going back to the county council or the council, St. Charles City or the Chesterfield Council, did they ever give reasons for going into executive session, not allowing the public to hear these deliberations? What were the reasons?
So state law does narrowly tailor certain circumstances where you can be in a secret session. One of those happens to be when you're involved in real estate transactions where it could potentially risk the offer having open public discussions on how much the council is willing to pay for something, to what length they're willing to go. I don't know how far because none of that has been released. I'm not on the council any longer. I'm not privy to what happens behind the closed doors in executive session. I know that at least one council member, maybe two council members, and certainly former Mayor Nation have raised questions about the discussions that were had in executive session regarding this deal and whether it did qualify or not. That's something that I think I hope will get cleared up by the city before they move forward with this deal and not after. I think taxpayers have a right to know exactly what was discussed and what the rationale is for making such a highly over appraised value on a piece of property with no clear goal on what to use it for.
So, Representative, I heard a lot at this meeting last night, and I was struck by the fact that, leaving aside the paying over the appraisal price, leaving aside the cost for a second, the supporters of it really laid out two good reasons for why they should do this. And the thing was, those two reasons were in complete opposition to each other. They said reason number one was, this is a good investment. It's a fully leased building. We'll make enough money off the rents to pay for it, so it won't cost Chesterfield any money. That was clearly explained by supporters on a few times. The other reason was that it would be a good use for first the parking, but also potentially office space for a civic center or a police substation or other Chesterfield city offices that you need new space as Chesterfield is growing and Chesterfield city government's growing. With the problem that if you start using the office space for Chesterfield offices, they will no longer be paying tenants who will then pay for the cost of the building. Yeah. So these two things are in complete diametric opposition to each other, yet both of them were consistently touted out as reasons why Chesterfield should do this. And I just am so thoroughly perplexed that this deal is being considered at all, and I know you probably are too.
Follow the money.
Absolutely. It really is a question. Which is it? Are you planning on keeping the tenants and operating as a landlord, essentially, who's engaged in commercial real estate renting, or are you going to kick out those tenants and move forward with renovating that building? That has not been a fleshed out idea or a very well fleshed out idea by the council. Last night there were not a lot of questions. I think if we're going to spend $17 million on this building, I think the next question is how much are they going to spend to renovate it? Are they going to renovate it to turn into a substation for the police or a community center is going to require massive renovations? I'm worried we've only seen the tip of the iceberg on how bad this deal could actually be for the city.
And Representative, speaking of landlords and tenants, you had a bill that was signed into law that David Stokes and I have talked about, and with Tim have talked about, because it applies to where we live in University City as the Section 8 tenant mandates. Talk about that law and why it was needed.
Absolutely. So this was a bill that I think has been needed for a while. And David, you can attest to that. You've been working on this issue for a long time and really spearheaded me bringing that bill in last year. Just while David and I have been working on that bill the last year or so, in the meantime, Kansas City passed a very draconian ordinance basically prohibiting landlords from screening their tenants, requiring them to accept federal vouchers. They had to participate in the Section 8 program, which is essentially a backdoor to rent control. Missouri bans rent control, but this is a way blue liberal cities have found a way to skirt around it, a little loophole, and say, well, if we just authorize if we just put ourselves under the authority of the federal government instead of the state through the Section 8 program, we can get rent control back in. The housing market in Kansas City after this ordinance was passed was just decimated. No new residential multifamily construction. Just really had a chilling effect on the housing market development in Kansas City. So this bill was necessary in order to actually solve the real problem that Kansas City claims they want to solve. And cities like U-City and Maplewood and St. Louis City who have these bad policies, we need to allow landlords and tenants to have freedom of contract with each other, not force people into regulations that are put on them by the federal government. It just makes sense and allows the housing market to open up, which benefits everybody.
It was just the past couple of years. It was great to work with Representative Keathley as well as Senator Schroer and Representative Brown out in Kansas City on this issue. I became alerted to it about 3-4 years ago when Maplewood passed their ridiculous version of it, and then spoke to Ben, and it actually got done in just 2 years. So pretty good time by legislative standards. And I think that's partly due to Kansas City stepped in and just passed a local bill just on steroids of how bad their bill was. And they went much farther than what St. Louis and the cities around here had done. And that's really what got things going and activated a lot of activists in the real estate community in Kansas City. And it's one of the top bills that was passed this year. I mean, it was a real win for property rights, for landlords, but really for everybody, just the property rights in this state. And Representative Keathley was a big part of it.
Representative,
I appreciate that.
Keathley, before we let you go, of course, the big news is the redistricting happening around the country. The Senate Pro Tem leader, Cindy O'Loughlin, this morning said that it was likely that the legislature is going to be called in a special session. Your thoughts on redistricting in a 7-1 map in Missouri?
Well, I certainly think it's incumbent on the legislature to put forward a responsible map. I think if we can, with how divided and how other states have responded, particularly on the blue side, everyone needs to look at the Illinois and Maryland and California congressional districts that are just about the worst gerrymandered districts ever. One side plays fair and one side writes all the Republicans out of their districts. The thing is, particularly with population shifts in St. Louis City and Kansas City and people leaving the St. Louis metropolitan area for other places, and a lot of that movement has happened since the last census. I think it certainly demands another look at how we've drawn the lines. I think a lot of the political a lot of the demographic trends in Missouri have changed, And I'm certainly open, and I think it's a good idea that the state of Missouri should revisit and reopen the redistricting process.
And that is Representative Ben Keathley, 101st District in Missouri. Representative, thank you so much for your time, and keep up the great work. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
And he can be reached at benkeathley.com. Well, first half hour is in the books, David. What do you think?
I said it while we were on break earlier. Nothing in the world goes faster than live talk radio. It just, when you're actually doing it, it just flies by.
That's one of the first things that just hit me when I first started doing this years ago. It was like, what? 2 hours is over already? 3 hours? Quickly. All right, 442, Chris's Corner coming up. Zohran Mamdani, possibly the next mayor of New York City, not getting a lot of love from a next door state Democrat. I'll tell you about that on Chris's Corner. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL, #1 for live and local conservative talk.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, driving the leftist crazy all afternoon. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Definitely heating up a little bit more each day we go this week. Overnight tonight, we're dry, partly cloudy, light winds, a little bit muggy in the morning with a low of 70. And then a high of 91 in the afternoon, partly cloudy skies, light winds throughout the day. Heat index up to around 94. So you'll notice the humidity, but it's not excessive. Overnight into Thursday morning, a low of 73, a high of 92, heat index up to around 96. As it's another hot day for Thursday, feeling more like summer with mostly sunny skies and staying dry. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
News, analysis, opinion.
You know, they're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
Hey, if new windows or doors are on your to-do list this summer, let me give you a personal recommendation. My wife, Becca, and I, we visited STL Windows and Doors back in March. We toured the showroom, spent some time getting to know the owners. It's a local family-owned company with over 65 years of experience right here in the St. Louis Metro. And after meeting them ourselves, we saw exactly why they've earned such a great reputation. There was zero pressure, just honest advice. Their sales team is salary-based, not commission, so the focus is on helping you, not upselling. There are no minimums. Whether you need 1 window or 20, they're happy to help. They install Provia windows made in the USA, Energy Star certified, and backed by a lifetime transferable warranty. It's no surprise they've been recognized by HomeAdvisor and even Forbes.com as one of the top window contractors in the area. Schedule your fast, free estimate today at stlwindowsanddoors.com, stlwindowsanddoors.com, or call 314-277-5952. STL Windows and Doors, the preferred window installation company in St. Louis.
Hey, this is Jim Avery, the most conservative Republican in the race for state Senate in Northern Jefferson County. I'm a 3-time combat veteran. I'm going to fight for the unborn, defend the Second Amendment, and eliminate personal property tax. I want to invite you all to my campaign kickoff on August 14th at 6:30 p.m. at Notting Hills. Live music, great food, and a lot of fun. This is Jim Avery, and I'd love to see you all there. The event is free, but space is limited, so visit jimavery.com to RSVP today.
Paid for by Jim Avery for Senate. Jacqueline Rye-Bold, Treasurer.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michaels Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michaels has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michaels Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Attention all gun enthusiasts. Don't miss the big DeSoto Gun Show, August 10th and 11th at the Knights of Columbus Hall in DeSoto, Missouri. Over 450 tables of pistols, handguns, rifles, long guns, shotguns, ammo, and more. The fun starts Saturday, August 10th at 9 a.m. and continues all weekend. Admission just $10 and good for the entire weekend. 12 and under get in free with discounts for veterans and first responders. The big DeSoto Gun Show at the DeSoto, Missouri Knights of Columbus Hall the weekend of August 10th. More info at bkeypromotions.us.
Are the days of a personal doctor gone? Not at Body of Health Direct Primary Care.
I'm Dr. Randy Tobler to share how our design is putting the care back into healthcare. Plain and simple, our members, not insurance companies, get our exclusive focus. That means same or next day appointments, responsive answers to your concerns, and a no-spin, big tool chest approach. It's about time you get serious time devoted to your medical needs. To learn about healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
If you have a tree that you think is dead, it might not be dead. Why don't you try to save it first with Roots Plus? Roots Plus can help you save your tree and keep your cash. RootsPlusLLC.com. That's RootsPlusLLC.com or 314-440-3662.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
The left-wing governor of Illinois wants left-wing schools to be in charge of screening kids for mental health issues. What could go wrong with that? We're talking about it on Wednesday.
Morning starting at 5:30
on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
We also have breaking news tonight related to the scheduled execution of Tennessee death row inmate Byron Lewis Black. The U.S. Supreme Court has just rejected the latest attempt by Black's attorneys to delay his execution. Black's lawyers tried to argue that it would be unconstitutional to take his life because of his mental disabilities. They also argued the execution here in Nashville would amount to torture because the State Department of Corrections refuses to deactivate his defibrillator before the procedure. They fear that it will essentially try to restart his heart.
448. I'm sorry. I'm sitting here in stunned silence that some of these people, the lengths they will do to save someone. Joey, I think, said murdered somebody and their whole family. Just
kickstart my heart.
Is that what that is? I know, it's like you're playing a Speed Racer startup.
No.
Racer.
Hey, Jim.
Before we get into Chris's Corner, my good friend David Stokes has some business that he needs to take care of first. David, you have the floor.
Well, I think we're going to talk a little New York City. I believe that is your topic for Chris's Corner.
Well, I thought you had like a shout out there.
Yeah, so I'm going to give a shout out to my college friends. I believe a few of them are actually listening right now from New York. Most of my college friends are in New York City.
All right.
I've gone to Fairfield University.
Class
beautiful Fairfield, Connecticut, class of 1994.
Okay.
And I think at least one local buddy who's also a Fairfield grad is listening in. So a shout out to Fairfield class of 94.
All right. You guys do a lot of drinking back in the day?
We probably did.
All right. Shout out to the class of 94 Fairfield. Thank you guys for listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. As we always like to say, your phone is your radio. You can listen to us from all over the world. All right, Joey, let's do a little Chris's Corner.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
You know, the big race that everyone is watching, of course, is the New York City race. Zohran Mamdani, who I think is an avowed socialist communist, is still leading the race with Andrew Cuomo, former governor, in the race, along with Mayor Adams, the former police chief. You know, the people there in New York, the communists seem to love him, but he's not getting a lot of love from his fellow elected Democrats. Cory Booker, the senator from New Jersey, he has refused to support Zohran Mamdani. He said, quote, on Sunday and on the news shows, he said, so anybody who's saying defund the police is wrong, and within the Democratic Party or within the nation, I will always fight that. And there's a guy here, what's his name? Gottheimer. I don't know who that is. I didn't get the first name. But he called Mamdani, quote, a job-killing socialist, and stating, you'll hear no ambiguity out of my mouth. So the people in New York City seem to love Mamdani, but the party establishment haven't quite gotten behind him yet. I hope that these people wake up and realize that I know Andrew Cuomo is bad. I know Mayor Adams is bad too, but you're about to elect a 33-year-old communist as mayor of New York City. Please look at Chicago and their mayor, the young upstart progressive mayor. Dave, I saw a poll out today. He's at 21% approval. That's gone up some, but 78% of Chicagoans disapprove of his job performance. That's what New York City is looking forward to. I hope that they change their mind. On the immigration front, arrests by U.S. immigration agents have dropped nearly 20% in July. Now, of course, the mainstream media will say that the Trump administration is falling behind in their promises, not doing the job. But one, you got to look at it. These people are hiding now because they know they're about to be deported. And look at some of the recent court cases that have put constraints on some of ICE's operations. So don't let the mainstream media try to tell you that Trump is not keeping his promises. He is eliminating these people out of our country, which they should. Trump administration has teased some new rules and regulations for farm labor. We know that a lot of people that have been picked up have been farm labor. I have heard a report that some 40% of immigrants, illegal and legal, coming into this country are migrant farm workers. And so, you know, we always hear the argument that if we don't have these people, our crops will be rotting in the field. And some of these people that own farms, some of the big ag, have appealed to the president to try to waive some of the restrictions on these workers and allow them to stay. Looks like the Trump administration is weighing that. Also, one of the big problems with illegal immigration are people overstaying their student and their travel visas. The State Department is thinking about a plan that if you're a foreigner here on a travel visa or a student visa, you got to plop down $5,000 to $15,000 as kind of bail, I guess. So if you do overstay, they keep your $15,000, then we'll find you and deport you. So I think that's a good idea, and I think that's a good deterrent. Maybe, you know, some people may say, okay, you can have my $15,000 and I can escape into the United States and forever and be a shadow citizen. Maybe it's worth it. I don't know. But, you know, we always love new plans. You know, we've talked about a lot of the reasons why illegal immigration has probably stopped is because you're not going to be put into some cushy cell in New York and then treated well. Some of these people have been deported overseas to not the most hospitable countries. One of those countries where illegal immigrants are going to be deported, David, is Rwanda, the beautiful country of Rwanda. You've seen the travel guides, very beautiful this time of the year. They have agreed to accept 250 migrants from the United States. The president said that the United States will provide money to support these efforts. So that's another incentive for these illegal immigrants. You can get a beautiful vacation to Rwanda or Ethiopia or some other desert, hot, arid country. That's one of the reasons why we are not having illegal immigration. And finally, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, she has says that the Alligator Alcatraz detention facility in Florida is a model for other facilities. I didn't know that they had alligators in Arizona, Nebraska, and Louisiana, but they're talking about similar camps there, David. Did they have alligators in Nebraska and Louisiana?
Really big catfish.
A really big catfish.
In Nebraska.
You know,
really scary, large catfish.
You just reminded me of something. Nebraska. I saw yesterday. It was a Facebook reel. It was a big, giant catfish, and it had a duck. It had swallowed a duck. And these people were trying to pull the duck out of the catfish's mouth. It was just absolutely amazing. But as I digress, and that is Chris's Corner. You a catfisherman? Most people don't like catfish. They call them bottom dwellers, and they eat anything, and they don't want to eat them.
I'll eat catfish at a restaurant. Catfish is good.
Say at a restaurant. What if you don't go to somebody's house?
I'm not going to go gigging a catfish on my own. No,
you're not going to go noodling. You don't noodle.
I'm not going to noodle. I'm going to eat the catfish at a nice restaurant.
What kind of courage or maybe not good sense do you have to be in a lagoon or a lake or a river or something and just put your hand into a hole that you don't know what's in it to potentially pull out a catfish? That's extreme courage.
It's more than I have. Right. There's no fish I want that badly to do that.
But it's more a sport for them more than trying to eat. It's like, it's the thrill of the hunt, David. Well, the thrill of the hunt.
Not one I have.
When we come back, David, I want to talk about there's just a scandal a minute almost in St. Louis County. We're going to stay on this local theme. One thing that I read this morning, that the former comptroller, Darlene Green, who had the job for 30 plus years, she was defeated in April. Apparently, she's still on the payroll in another division. She's claiming, I don't know anything about this. I don't know how it happened. But when I was reading through the comments of the article and everything, and people that were in city government, they were kind of like, there's no way this can just happen like this, that she potentially had to know about it. We'll get more in there. You have any initial thoughts about that before we take a break?
I can't wait to talk about it a little more. It's obviously the frightening thing, though, is it makes you wonder, like, if Darlene Green was caught, it's because people recognized her name.
Yeah.
Like, how many former employees of city that people would not recognize the name as having been just lost an election might still be on that payroll?
$6,500 check, and the paper reported that she got her $3,000 pension check as well. So,
I mean, to get both of those at the same time, it's just ridiculous what's happening there.
And we'll talk about that with my guest co-host, David Stokes. He is visiting with me today. Tomorrow, Jim Gwinner. He's a political consultant locally. We'll talk more about him. He'll be guest hosting with me. Coming up, we're going to speak with Dan Schneider. He's vice president of the Media Research Center, about Andrew Bailey's formal investigation into big tech. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, looking for windows that solve your problems and actually add value to your home? Renewal by Andersen. Andersen products increase your home value by at least 15%. Right now, get $329 off every window, $729 off every patio or entry door, and ask about our zero interest plan for 3 years. Renewal by Andersen, the full-service replacement division of Andersen. That's a name you've trusted for more than 122 years. Renewal by Andersen has FiberX frames, 20% stronger than vinyl, built to last. It's why we have more 5-star reviews than anyone in St. Louis. And only Renewal by Andersen backs it up with the nation's best warranty. Schedule your complimentary consultation, rbastl.com, or call 877-WINDOWS, 877-WINDOWS. Renewal by Andersen, superior products, exceptional service.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure, full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor-fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. At Israel's request, the UN Security Council will hold an emergency meeting to discuss the hostages being held and starved by Hamas.
The UN session was called after Palestinian armed groups put out videos showing two of the hostages, Ron Breslavsky and Evyatar David, looking weak and emaciated. Their families want immediate action to bring them home, and they've expressed alarm at suggestions the Israeli Prime Minister now wants to reoccupy all of Gaza, including areas where it's believed the hostages are held, a step which could endanger them. Some reports say Israeli military leaders also oppose the plan. It's been denounced by Palestinians.
The BBC's Yolanda Nell reporting from Jerusalem. A Southern California pastor is rallying opposition to a bill in the state assembly which he calls a child trafficker's dream. Pastor Jack Hibbs of Calvary Chapel, Chino Hill warns California Assembly Bill 495 would let total strangers remove young children from public schools or daycare centers.
It allows an individual to obtain
this new form. They fill it out. The bill does not require a background check. There's no requirement for the school to call you to ask you if it's okay if John takes your daughter out of school. If this bill passes, I am going to ask you to leave the state of California. You're going to need to pack up and you're going to have to get out. You got to get out. You got to run with your kids. You got to go. It is unbelievable. So much so, don't believe me. Go to realimpact.us.
Tomorrow we'll hear from a public policy expert who warns if AB 495 passes on August 19th, it will open the door to similar laws in legislatures all across the United States, further eroding parental rights. More on these stories at townhall.com.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
My back got injured very bad. I was off work for about a year. I heard about Relief Factor from my wife. I took it every day, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. Look at her and I said, the pain is gone. And she said, I'm glad it helped. I said, no, you don't understand. It's gone.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to relieffactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
This is an urgent message for investors over the age of 50. Silver is on the verge of making history. This is an opportunity you can't miss. We're Advantage Gold, the #1 rated precious metals company in America, and we've helped thousands of investors move their IRA, 401k, or retirement account into physical gold and silver. Call 800-900-8000 now, or visit us at AdvantageGold.com and get our free 2025 Silver Investor Report. You'll learn how to get up to $10,000 in free silver with a qualifying purchase. Past performance may vary. Consult your financial or tax advisor. Call us at 800-900-8000.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Definitely heating up a little bit more each day we go this week. Overnight tonight, we're dry, partly cloudy, light winds, a little bit muggy in the morning with a low of 70. And then a high of 91 in the afternoon, partly cloudy skies, light winds throughout the day. Heat index up to around 94, so you'll notice the humidity, but it's not excessive. Overnight into Thursday morning, a low of 73, a high of 92, heat index up to around 96. As it's another hot day for Thursday, feeling more like summer with mostly sunny skies and staying dry. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
The Napoli heritage of fine dining continues with Napoli Kirkwood. Napoli Kirkwood, now open. So add that to Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C. And don't forget about Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the district, Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, plus now, open Napoli Kirkwood.
Are uneven concrete surfaces causing you headaches? Polytime Concrete Leveling and Restoration has the solution. We're a veteran and family-owned business offering long-lasting solutions for all your concrete problems. From precision concrete leveling to our superior restoration services, our precision polyjacking outperforms traditional mudjacking any day. Call Polytime at 636-487-3282 for a free estimate or visit itspolytime.com. Mention Newstalk STL and get $125 off any job of $600 or more, or 10% off your service.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Have you and your significant other decided it's a perfect time to sell your home? Well, the Wallners are always standing by to assist you. The Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway, Rodney and Jen Wallner, and now the added bonus of Jamie Ullman. Yep, all working under that one-stop shop, that one roof. They will offer you, when you call them, a flexible commission plan to fit your family-specific needs. Give them the ring today at 314-810-SOLD. They've got so many approved home buyers, they'll guarantee to obtain you an offer. Yes, Rodney and Jen, an awesome husband and wife team, unique family perspective when it comes to selling your home, not just that of one agent. They're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois. They can assist you and will on both sides of the river when you call them at 314-810-SOLD. There's no obligation. There's no long-term commitment when you call the Wallners at 314-810-SOLD. If you're not happy, want to walk away, no questions asked. You come back when you're ready to sell your homestead. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team, today. Rodney, Jen, and Jamie for that free listing consultation. You will sell your home with this top-notch real estate team, the Wallner Home Selling Team. 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
.507 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. And again, my partner Tim Jones is on a well-deserved vacation. He will be joining me next week. We're going to be in Israel. I'm sure you've heard the commercials about that. Very, very excited about that. But sitting in for Tim Jones today is David Stokes of the Show Me Institute. He's Director of Municipal Policy, but he's not here under that capacity today. He is Joe Q citizen David Stokes. So welcome back, David. I'm glad you didn't abandon me. I'm glad you stayed through the break.
And it's after 5 o'clock now, so it's even easier to be average citizen Dave.
All right, we got some little business take care of before we get back into the show. Fairfield College, did anybody text you back? Said,
yeah, you're listening in. The ratings in the New York
metropolitan
area are skyrocketing.
Hey, get us some ads there in New York. We'd love that. First of all, Rob Finnerty. He used to be the morning guy on Wake Up America and Newsmax. Now he has his own show, Rob Finnerty. I think it's like on the 7. He is a Fairfield College graduate.
I did not know that.
Yes. He's younger than us. He's like 41, 42. But he's a Boston guy. But I remember when I connected with him on LinkedIn and I was like, who do I know? It's like, I know somebody that went to Fairfield. And I was like, David Stokes and our good friend, help me. He's older than us. One of the
I'm sure he loves
one
that.
of the most charismatic, Phil Tracy, one of the most charismatic men you'll ever. Why he did not run for office, I don't know. He could have won any office he ever ran for, hands down. The most charismatic man I ever met in my life. Final piece of business, Dave. Blue leader Tom Wilson says that you are right regarding the 7-1 map, that it would be overturned. I don't think you said. Did you say it was going to be overturned or?
I didn't say overturned. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not aware of the legal challenges that are like. I'm not familiar with what role the state courts would have in saying you've broken the rules. So I think Tom, I don't know exactly what Tom was referring to, but right, if you do a 7-1 map, you're going to be slicing things very. Let's just talk about purely the politics of it, leaving aside the bigger issues. You're going to be slicing things very, very thin, and if you're so sure that that's going to come out 7-1 for one party, there is a very good chance that you'll wake up the day after Election Day and it is 4-4 or 5-3, and not in the direction you wanted it to go.
But the 4th and 6th districts are pretty red, aren't they?
Well, if you start putting a whole lot of Kansas City, Missouri proper into them, that can change quickly.
All right, we talked about it some before the break. The situation, former Comptroller Darlene Green was discovered that she has a check waiting for her at the city hall, even though she is no longer employed. Now, David, you've read the article thoroughly. You understand. One thing that I was getting confused in the article, was this just some oversight that she was paid her comptroller's check and it shouldn't have been done? Or does she have a job within city government, another job within city government?
I don't think she has another job within city government. And I also don't think it was just they forgot to cancel her comptroller's check. I think I think that was stopped. As I read the article, and if we have any callers in who can fill us in more, as I read it and I'm aware of it, it seems like somehow, and you don't want to assume, you don't want to assume.
But it's talk radio, so go ahead and assume.
Whether it was done by some insane mistake or done intentionally, who knows? Somehow she got added back in after she was removed, and it's just really, really strange.
And it's, and then the paper was saying that if you calculate the salary over a year, it's more than what she was making as the comptroller.
I mean, and so my concern, which I touched on briefly before we went away to break, is, I mean, how has this been happening for other employees who leave service and then just get a friend of theirs to put them into the payroll? I mean, is there so little oversight of the payroll system that you can just put people who don't work for city government into it? And has that been happening for people whose names are not recognizable? Like somebody obviously caught this, although it seems harder to stop it than it should be. It seemed to have been a delete button to stop it. But somebody obviously caught this because they recognized the name. But there's thousands of people who work for city government. Yeah. I'm sure most of them are not known by the majority of people in the payroll department. So are there other people who've just been getting chat? I would imagine there are. That's a tried and true staple of machine politics.
I mean, and what makes it kind of ironic or look bad, I mean, she's the former comptroller. These are the people that are supposed to be accounting for the money, watching the money, making sure everything adds up. And the former head of the comptroller's office, in a mistake, is getting paid another check.
And, for many years, she had an excellent reputation, as a good comptroller, a good auditor and fiscal watchdog and fiscal manager in the city of St. Louis. So it's so frustrating to see this type of thing. And you do just have to hope, as I do suspect it is, it's some crazy mistake somehow, some way. And I hope I really want to find out how it happened. I mean, they should be able to find that out.
One of those mistakes where you have to win the lottery and get struck by lightning on the same day, kind of.
It could happen to anyone. Sure.
Right. All right. One article I have been waiting to talk to you about also, because I am a North County raised person. I wasn't born here, of course. I was born in Texas. But North County municipalities, I guess, want to pull together and put together a tax for the roads. And David is someone who was from North County, goes up there periodically to visit friends or just go through the old stomping grounds. The roads are absolutely horrible. And I remember when I was growing up, Lindbergh down by Jamestown Mall was immaculate. Redmond Road by the recreational center, that road was always immaculate. Spanish Lake, Redmond Road, Spanish Lake Road, all those roads are falling apart now. I know those are unincorporated areas, most of them, but I mean, is this a good idea?
Well, you're right. The area that's being talked about here is a little south of that, but the point stands that we want, what's one of the 2 or 3 most important functions of local government is to maintain the vital local road system. And what you have here is in sort of near North County. I think generally a lot of cities in the Lucas and Hunt and 70 range, right in that very
mid-county, as we say in the county government.
Right.
Mid-county.
That's sort of that very general area. A lot of the really small cities, they formed a group a few years ago called 24 to 1, which is a lot of these cities started pooling resources for a number of factors. And the largest effort they've done so far is the North County Police Cooperative, where a number of these cities stopped having their own police departments and formed a police co-op, which has been a good move and has been successful for about a dozen cities in that area.
And sadly, that officer was killed a couple of years ago. That was part of the North County Collaborative.
Right. But overall, it's been a tragedies aside, it's been a good move in there. So it's a very good thing that these cities, these 24 cities, now I think 23, because one of them merged into Normandy, Glen Echo Park, which was, I think, the second smallest city in St. Louis County, which is saying something. So they merged. So it's good that these cities are working together, and they're working with sort of some nonprofits beyond housing to try to bring resources to these cities. The next move is they all want to pass a transportation development district, which is a special taxing district.
That's a bane of yours. I know
I've critiqued these many times, but it doesn't mean they're always bad in every instance. And this could be one of the examples where it could work. Because
write this down, Joey. This is a policy change.
Moment.
This is a policy change here.
So it's going to be interesting to see if all these cities actually, the voters pass it and they pool this money and how it gets done. It's the idea is they have to do it as a group because some of these cities just have no retail.
Yeah.
They're so small, they have no retail, and they don't have the tax base to fund themselves via the roads.
So what
via
is the
property
tax? Is it just
It'd be a 1 cent sales tax
Okay.
for roads, and it would be a transportation development district, and it would have its own board of directors from these 17 cities and the county and metro, and they would pool this money and focus it on local road needs there in that whole region along, Natural Bridge. A lot of these cities along Natural Bridge, Lucas and Hunt, St. Charles Rock Road, that general area, I-70, think of it there. So it's really it's a very good thing that these cities are pooling resources. And I've been praising the North County Police Cooperative and praising the general move for a couple of years now. I wish they could do it another way without just another tax increase on the people. Many of the people in that community are not high income. They don't have malls bringing in people from out of the area. So the residents are going to be paying for it. But I think overall, it's probably going to be a beneficial thing.
All right, here's my question. Why are these state roads? Do they have any responsibility to take care of these roads at all? And why isn't Frontenac and Ladue and those communities doing a taxing district to take care of their roads?
Well, they are.
Oh, they are?
Okay.
Okay.
Kirkwood just passed a TDD for their roads. They are being done.
Okay.
So the roads that these will be used on will be local roads. These will be the neighborhood streets and the commercial district streets in that part of near North County. State roads and county roads, they will not spend the money on that. The county has its own funding system for its county roads, and obviously the state highways and the major state arterials, which you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Redmond, Parker, those are, I believe most of those are county roads.
Yeah, used to be immaculate.
Then Lindbergh and Lewis and 367, those are mostly state roads. So these will be the local municipal roads, which also, they need potholes filled too. They need curb cuts working for pedestrians and bike riders and people in wheelchairs too. So they got a lot of needs for it. And I like how this is doing. It's unfortunate that it's come to this, though. I mean, these cities, it's not like they don't get any money for roads. They do get gas tax money. They do get other funds, but they need more than many of these struggling cities can have. And there's worse ways they could go about it than this.
This is what I don't understand, Dave. And I hope it's more complex than just what it looks like on the surface. But, several years ago, 367 up in North County was redone. They got rid of all the lights and made it basically kind of a highway. Very beautiful. It had nice brick kind of facade on it. It looked really nice. It's not maintained. It's falling apart. It looks bad. When they do that in other areas of the county, it doesn't fall into disrepair like that. I mean, I'm not trying to insinuate anything. It's just amazing. Why is that allowed to fall in disrepair, but it would never happen if this was done in West County and all this was redone?
Well, I haven't driven 367 up there for.
But I went
to Fast Eddie's when I was single. I'm married with kids.
That's an
now.
Illinois.
Not quite going to Fast Eddie's as often. Yeah. So, but it is. Look, it's an important area. They need to maintain. A lot of those are county roads up there and state roads. And if they're in really poor condition, then you need those elected officials to reach out to MoDOT and the county highway department. I will say this: the part where I start making people mad, including you and your listeners here, is it would actually be better if instead of all these local transportation development districts like Kirkwood has done, and these cities are all considering, it would be nice.
Wait a minute. You're not going there, are you?
I'm going to go. We should have a county-wide gas tax.
Okay.
That would be a better way to pay for a lot of these. We should. This includes a reduction in all these transportation sales taxes.
I'm surprised we don't, to be honest with you. I would think that we had one.
Well, we have the state one, which a portion of that money gets sent to cities and counties. So to that extent, we do. But I'd like to see 7 cities in the state of Missouri have local gas taxes. The closest one here is Forrestal in St. Charles County. And yes, like Forrestal, all 7 of those cities are really.
How much are we talking about?
We're gas stations with a city attached to them. So a penny, a penny a gallon, 2 pennies at most. So I'd like to see a St. Louis County-wide gas tax of 1 cent to 2 cents at most, which then is only spent on municipal and county roads in St. Louis County. And I think that would be a better option than all these new transportation development district sales taxes that are popping up.
Final question before we go to Dan Schneider, Vice President of the Media Research Center, next. North County is, I grew up, it's my heart. I'm excited about the new project where they took over the old golf course up there and turned it into a zoo preserve with all these exotic animals. You can do glamping, paid to stay in a cabin and all of that. I'm hoping that helps revitalize North County. What's your assessment, your thoughts on that project? We taxpayers had to pony up for that, right? And we passed the sales tax.
Well, it's done by the zoo. So the zoo is a taxpayer-supported institution. So, right, taxpayers are funding this, taxpayers throughout St. Louis City and St. Louis County, because it's a new zoo project, and I, too, hope it's great. That's the old Pipe Fitters Hall, right?
That's where we had our prom.
Wow.
Pipe Fitters Hall.
Going way,
back
way
in 84, yes.
and the air conditioning broke.
The air conditioner.
What are the odds?
At the Pipe Fitters Hall.
No. So I remember going to the old Pipe Fitters Hall for a few old job-related things many years ago. It was an enormous facility.
It was.
I can't wait
you ever
to
play
see.
golf out there?
I didn't. I never played golf out there.
Well, it was always cracked me up. Okay, it's the Pipe Fitters. It's a union, facility. It was. But if you played golf there, you had to have a collared shirt on. You had to dress real in the golfy attire. And I'm like, guys are the Pipe Fitters. Why are you acting all bougie and stuff? You should be able to show up in some shorts and a wife beater if you want to. But that always was amazing to me. You had to have a collared shirt on if you're going to play at the Pipe Fitters golf course.
I'm a big fan of collared shirts on the golf. As a golfer, you should play golf in a collared shirt. That's all I'll say.
That is David Stokes' wisdom there. Coming up, we're going to speak with Dan Schneider. He's Vice President of the Media Research Center. And we're going to discuss Andrew Bailey's formal investigation into Google, OpenAI, Meta, and Microsoft. And ironically, David, my wife flew home yesterday from D.C., and the Attorney General was on the plane with her. Amazing coincidence. All right. Listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
And it's on the table, the mouths are choking, but I'm going hungry.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
We got a product the fellas gotta have.
I'm going hungry.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Definitely heating up a little bit more each day we go this week. Overnight tonight, we're dry, partly cloudy, light winds, a little bit muggy in the morning with a low of 70. And then a high of 91 in the afternoon, partly cloudy skies, light winds throughout the day. Heat index up to around 94, so you'll notice the humidity, but it's not excessive. Overnight into Thursday morning, a low of 73, a high of 92, heat index up to around 96. As it's another hot day for Thursday, feeling more like summer with mostly sunny skies and staying dry. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
You talk about race relations.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity. And I'm sick and tired of it.
1019 and 94.1.
I find it to be a conversation starter.
News Talk STL.
How do you celebrate over 52 plus years in the business? Well, you do it by providing an excellent business, excellent service, excellent people. All of that can be found at Hydrodynamics Core. Tim Jones here to tell you all about Hydrodynamics Core. And, even though we're in the later months of summer, this is a perfect time to put that irrigation system in that you've always wanted to have. Let me tell you, the cost on the front end is worth the savings on the back end, and the service that they provide at Hydrodynamics Core is just an added bonus when you put in one of these systems, because they provide service for all their systems. And even if you didn't put in a Hydrodynamics Core system, they'll take care of whatever system you may have. That's their bread and butter. That's their foundation. foundation. Perfect time of year to get those systems checked, that mid-season tune-up. But Hydrodynamics Core, which is found at hydrodynamicscore.com, has a lot of other services as well. Premium turf management, outdoor lighting. Yes, they service that as well. They can take care of all the drainage problems that you have at your business or your home. And they do awesome things to beautify the exterior of your homestead or your business, including retaining walls, patios, walkways, edging, outdoor fireplaces, and so much more. Whether it's for irrigation, whether it's for lighting, whether it's to spruce up your homestead or your business, Hydrodynamics Core, your one-stop shop. Hydrodynamicscore.com, hydrodynamicscore.com.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
This is Larry Connors, and my favorite sandwich at Capriati's is a Philly cheesesteak with peppers, sweet peppers, but sometimes hot peppers. I love Capriati's, and so will you.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Hey, Jamie Allman here with my common sense brother, Rob Very, owner of STL Bath and Renovation. And let me tell you something, your home is your castle, but so is your bathroom. Rob, how can you make it beautiful?
Jamie, if you're tired of cleaning, you love the tile, but you hate the grout, we can give you man-made or natural stone in your bathroom for your floors and walls, but no grout. Easy to maintain.
And beautiful. All kinds of selections as well.
More than you can count.
STLBR.com, St. Louis Bath and Renovation, STLBR.com. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Jamie.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Come here, man.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Do it, man.
The White House is rolling out a plan designed to expand AI infrastructure and investments in the U.S. in the race to stay ahead of China. The AI Action Plan involves rolling back federal regulations put in place during the Biden administration, promoting the build-out of infrastructure, including data centers, and plans to export U.S. AI technology globally.
Our country will lead the world in AI to secure a brighter future for all Americans, massively grow our economy, and protect our national security.
529 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, and we joke a lot about AI on the show that it's going to take over the world. Well, we've got a person to talk to about that. He is Dan Schneider. He's vice president of the Media Research Center. Dan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Really appreciate being on.
No problem. You know, I read something just today in my notes, which was an incredible statistic, that people are saying that AI, largely in the form of data centers, contributed as much as 40% of the overall American GDP growth in the second quarter. Does that sound about right to you? Is that possible?
Look, we're going to see this more and more. AI is going to become as commonplace and ubiquitous as electricity and gasoline. It really is going to be the fuel of our economy going forward. You know, if you don't know AI, you're already behind. It's the wave of the future, and that's why the left has been using AI as a weapon to try to silence conservatives. We see it over and over again.
I want to get your thoughts on something another commentator said about the power of AI. He said that Silicon Valley could be transforming itself into a version of the 19th century U.S. railroad tycoons, spending hugely to reduce input costs, thereby making itself near impossible to disrupt. What do you think of that?
Well, I don't think that's exactly right. Look, there are big expenses in producing great AI, and it does take a lot of infrastructure, but it's all about ingenuity and know-how. And if you wanted to build a railroad, from East Coast to West Coast, you had to have tons and tons, millions of tons of iron to build those railway lines. There was no getting around it. But with AI, the Chinese already demonstrated this, with some ingenuity, you could do some amazing giant leaps forward. But in the end, it does take a huge amount of investment, and it takes constant vigilance to stay ahead of the competitors. So, while I am critical of what American AI companies are doing to use their power to attack conservatives, in the end, we have to beat China because they want to use AI to defeat the world.
That is true. And our own Attorney General, Andrew Bailey, he has launched a formal investigation into big tech, talking about their biases. And we've all seen it ourselves. Once I started using ChatGPT a little more, I realized that I had to do my queries a certain way if I wanted to not get the liberal response from it.
Yeah. And by the way, Missouri has one of the best, if not the best, attorneys general in the entire country. Andrew Bailey, and look, he replaced Eric Schmidt, who was a fabulous attorney general of Missouri, and he's a great U.S. senator. Missouri is so lucky to have both of these guys in these roles, and they are both warriors, champions for free speech rights for America. It makes me want to move to Missouri just so that I can be a constituent of these guys. But Andrew Bailey is fighting back for Missourians. He understands what's at stake here. These AI chatbots are trying to manipulate the news. We just came out with a study today showing how Google News, trying to find the Tulsi Gabbard story, 36 out of 37 news stories that Google News directs you to say that Tulsi Gabbard is a liar, that she's engaged in a misleading coup, that her evidence is thin gruel. It's on and on and on. Left-wing propaganda trying to protect Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama from what they did against Trump. This is what Google News feeds people. It's worse than just liberal left-wing media bias. It is manufacturing the worst of the worst stories and spoon-feeding it to the American public.
So what ultimately... go ahead.
No, go ahead, Chris.
So what ultimately is the situation or is the solution? I mean, these are private companies. Does the government put watchdogs in to make sure that they're not being biased? What is the ultimate solution?
Okay, well, when you're talking about social media platforms, they're what the law would call common carriers, like AT&T. Common carriers are not allowed to discriminate as a matter of law. They serve such a central function in our economy that for hundreds of years, our courts, even before America became a nation, this goes back to British common law, but our courts have always explained how common carriers are not allowed to discriminate, but that's what they do today. And they're actually trying to resurrect that old Plessy versus Ferguson standard where, they say, no, you can discriminate, including against people because of their skin color, based on their religion, and they do. These big tech platforms are literally discriminating against people because of their religion, because of their skin color, and because of their political opinions. That's got to stop. And then on the AI side, Donald Trump just signed an executive order saying if you're an AI company and you have a contract with the U.S. government, then you cannot discriminate based on political viewpoint. It's this simple, Chris. The government can't discriminate against people based on their views. So the government can't fund others who do so. So he's just saying, look, you can't do that. You can't take our tax dollars and then use it directly or indirectly to attack half of America.
So Dan, this is Dave Stokes. A question on that. How many AI companies have a contract with the federal government? Is that like something through the military or whatever, that many of them do have large contracts with the feds?
Yeah, look, most pretty much any AI company that you've read about in your local newspapers have contracts with the U.S. government. Interestingly enough, for a long time, the Google employees refused to allow Google to have contracts with DoD. You know, the Google employees are so radical that they're happy to help the Chinese Communist Party, but they were saying not the U.S. Defense Department. That has started to change under Donald Trump. Google just recently signed a contract with DoD, and the employees there did not seem to protest this go around. I think they understand that they are behind the 8 ball on this. But these big tech platforms are so radical. Their employees are so radical. And it's taking somebody like Donald Trump to get people back to normal, where companies are not discriminated against people simply because of the views we have.
Speaking
Now,
with,
if you're, yeah.
No, go ahead, Dan.
So-
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just gonna introduce you. Go ahead, finish your thought.
Well, look, if you are running just some mom and pop shop and you have your own views, you can choose what you want to do. But if you're one of these big common carriers, or if you've got big government contracts, you cannot be using our tax dollars to harm people. That is un-American.
You know, a trend that I read about several years ago, really recent, more recent than that, is there seemed to be a revolving door between big tech and government. Some of these people that worked for Google in very high positions, they would revolve into government sector job or advisory committee jobs where they had a lot of sway. Has Trump done anything to kind of not have that happen as often, or are we still seeing that practice?
Yeah, well, during the Obama administration, Google owned Barack Obama. If you looked at the visitor logs, Google by far had more presence in that Obama White House than anybody else. Those Google employees were rotating in and out of the Obama White House and the Obama administration. They controlled that whole place. We saw Joe Biden bring in lots of these big tech people into the White House, specifically to try to help him run his censorship regime. Here at the Media Research Center, we documented 57 big censorship initiatives that crossed 93 federal agencies during the Biden administration. Now, obviously, we've heard a lot about Doge. Trump brought in lots of these young Doge guys to figure out how to use technology to fix our system. So there's a reason for this. Joe Biden literally tried to bankrupt lots of these big tech companies, these smaller big tech companies. He only wanted a few big tech companies surviving, because then it'd be easier for government to control those tech companies to control us. Donald Trump had the opposite view. Let them all flourish. And you had all these liberal Silicon Valley guys who realized we've been backing the wrong guy. There's one guy who actually wants us to survive and flourish, and another guy who wants us to die and be eaten up by Google. That's why so many people in Silicon Valley switched horses and supported Trump this go around.
Do you think that's a permanent phenomena, or is it just a phenomena of, hey, this is the person that's in power now, and we need to curry up to him until the next leader?
You know, I hope it's temporary. The only way this stays permanent is if we've got crazy people like this Mamdani guy who is poised to be the New York City mayor. And if the Democrat Party, you know, it's been the once great Democrat Party has been taken over by radicals, extreme radicals. And as long as those extremists stay in power and push for the most absurd propositions, like you can't tell who's a man and who's a woman, and you have to save the First Amendment by censoring people's speech. These absurd non sequiturs. If the left stays in that lane, then yes, this is a permanent change. I sure hope that the Democrat Party finds its roots again, gets back to being pro-America.
Dan, what's the latest hot story investigation at the Media Research Center?
Well, you know, our guys have just exposed Stephen Colbert and made a lot of news showing that that he had 100 and some odd liberal guests and not a single conservative.
Shocker.
Yeah, we've been fighting the NPR and PBS forced subsidies, and that was a huge victory. We've been trying to defund PBS and NPR for 38 years. The forced taxpayer subsidies of those things. We showed how at PBS during the Democrat convention, the PBS gave the Democrats 88% positive coverage, but during the Republican convention, 72% negative coverage, on and on and on. If you're going to take government subsidies, either cash subsidies like NPR and PBS were getting, or for these broadcasters that get this massive subsidy of being able to use our public airwaves for free with an FCC license. If you're going to take those subsidies, you have to serve the public interest. And I know that there are going to be some libertarians and some conservatives who will say, well, government can't dictate what these companies do. Well, that's generally true, unless, of course, they're taking government money. If they're taking government money, then they have to do the role of the purpose of government. They've got to take it for the right purpose and do it with fidelity of the grant. So if PBS and NPR want to exist and take government money, they've got to be balanced and fair like the statute requires them. They never wanted to do that, so they got defunded.
Dan, the Media Research Center has been around a very long time. You followed the media. I can remember back in the mid to late 80s, early 90s, when I would watch PBS and CNN, and especially with PBS, and I was following politics pretty closely. I, honest to God, could not tell which side of the news that they were portraying. The McNeil-Lehrer news report, I had no idea which side of the aisle those guys were on. And just a lot of those shows. When did PBS start changing and becoming just more leftward leaning? Because in the late 80s and 90s, when I started getting into politics, I just didn't see it. I actually supported my local PBS station. I'm ashamed now. I've got a PBS coffee cup somewhere at my house, giving. Now I'm ashamed that I did that.
Well, I had National Review in my Christmas stocking, and Bill Buckley had a show on PBS every Saturday morning. And I loved McNeil-Lehrer also. But we have seen it changing over time. And let me just again make this point. It is the law, and I'm going to quote the statute that created NPR and PBS, that they have to ensure strict adherence to objectivity and balance in their programming. That's the law. Strict adherence to objectivity and balance. And they absolutely refuse to do that now. They will not provide an alternative perspective on climate change. They will not provide an alternative perspective on abortion. They outright say they will not cover it. That's breaking the law. And when they have only liberal guests and no conservative guests, when they only have Democrat members of Congress and no Republican members of Congress, they're breaking the law. And they don't have to take the money, and they got stripped of it. But and then NPR, of course, hired a Marxist to be their CEO. An avowed Marxist, spilling Marxist ideology. Of course, she was taken down in a House congressional hearing. I'm sure you can remember some of those quotes. But NPR and PBS have just turned radical.
David, the liberals would say that New York Times columnist David Brooks on every week, as the conservative counts as them having right-leaning guests. David Brooks, that noted conservative for the New York Times columnist.
Yeah, David Brooks was never a conservative. He was a longtime Republican, but his views, he's become a never Trumper. I think the only thing that distinguishes David Brooks from the other never Trumpers is that he stays calm, whereas the other never Trumpers,
that's true,
sweat and lather at the mouth and their eyes turn bloodshot.
That is true. All right, that's Dan Schneider, Vice President of the Media Research Center, MRC.org, and on X, Schneider_DC. Dan, thank you so much, and we'll talk with you again, sir.
Thanks, Chris and David.
Thank you. All right, David.
The one thing
you had a thought there.
We can't talk about PBS News here without mentioning that. We have been blessed to have Donnybrook for so many decades.
All right, keep that
St. Louis.
Keep that thought, because I do want to talk about that. 5:45. One more segment left. Dave and I will wrap it up. Listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show.
High fidelity. You know what that means? That means this is the highest quality fidelity. High five. Those are two very important things to have in the stereo system.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Definitely heating up a little bit more each day we go this week. Overnight tonight, we're dry, partly cloudy, light winds, a little bit muggy in the morning with a low of 70. And then a high of 91 in the afternoon, partly cloudy skies, light winds throughout the day. Heat index up to around 94. So you'll notice the humidity, but it's not excessive. Overnight into Thursday morning, a low of 73, a high of 92, heat index up to around 96. As it's another hot day for Thursday, feeling more like summer with mostly sunny skies and staying dry. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Do you want to get inside behind the scenes on the Mar-a-Lago raid? Exactly what we're going to do with Christina Bobb Tuesday at 11:25.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Tim Jones here to tell you about an awesome new company in our region, which will take care of a big problem, the mosquitoes in your backyard. Mosquito Nix. That's Mosquito Nix. Mosquito Nix. You can find them at mosquitonix.com, offering permanent automatic mosquito and tick protection. A lot of problems right now in the heartland with mosquitoes and ticks. Protect yourself and your family with Mosquito Nix. It's not just fogging, it's real coverage you don't have to think about. Right now, we're celebrating their launch here in the St. Louis lands with a bite-free backyard sweepstakes. One lucky family will get their entire yard protected. 10 others will get a great free fogging treatment just for entering 636-698-1980, 636-698-1980, or just go to mosquitonix.com. Make sure you tell them Tim Jones sent you and ask about their back-to-school special, also a limited time offer. Plus, check out Pest Nix, pest control services by Mosquito Nix as well. So for all your backyard bug needs, I want you to give our great new friends a holler. Mosquitonix.com. That's Mosquito Nix. Mosquitonix.com.
Want to hear the best kept secret in St. Louis? Staff's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares. According to our customers, we have the best St. Louis style pizza anywhere, and we can't disagree. Dine in, pick up, or delivery in St. Peters, St. Charles, Lake St. Louis on Pond Fort Trail, and the original Stefanitas in O'Fallon on Veterans Memorial Parkway. Check us out at steffspizza.com. Steff's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Cole Combs, attorney at law, has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. You have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs, attorney at law. Call 636-949-0010, extension 3 today, or visit colecombs-law.com.
Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor. Connor Roofing is now a two-time winner of the National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction for roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. Please visit connorroofing.com for an estimate. And remember, you can count on Connor.
Hello, I'm Missouri State Treasurer Vivek Malik. August 14th is National Able Savings Day, a time to highlight how able accounts empower individuals with disabilities. Our More Able program helps Missourians save for everyday needs without losing public benefits. To celebrate, we are offering a $25 match for anyone who opens a new account in August. Earnings grow tax-free and contributions qualify for a state tax reduction. Let's help more Missourians build financial independence. Learn more at moable.com.
Paid for by the Missouri State Treasurer's Office.
These rocks in the hot sun. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
I wanted money cause I had none. I fought the law.
5:50 on Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Joey there bopping his head. Is that your jam?
That's the Clash, isn't it?
Is it? I don't, Dave. You're the Clash guy. Is that the Clash?
That's not the Clash, but the Clash did play that song.
That's Hank Williams Jr. covering the Clash.
Yeah, I didn't sound like
many bands have covered "I Fought the Law."
That's my favorite version.
The Hank Williams
Clash,
Jr.
The Hank Williams Jr.
All right, what were we talking about before break?
You're going to fight at Donnybrook.
Oh,
PBS
Donnybrook. Yeah. You had a story about Donnybrook?
Well, I just wanted to say that,
You've
I
appeared
hope-
on that, haven't you? Have you been on
I've
that?
never appeared.
I thought you had been on that.
Many Show Me Institute people in the past have, but
You
not
didn't fight
I.
for. You didn't fight for it, man.
Not I. Brenda Talent has,
Which
appeared
she
many
should. She
times.
is the CEO.
Brenda, Audrey Spalding, my former
I remember
coworker.
her.
Audrey
Where's
was
she
on many
doing now?
times. I think she works for Google.
I remember she was from Michigan,
Right.
and then she left Show Me Institute to work for the Mackinac Center, where Tony Colombo is on Mackinac Island right now. He vacations there every year.
It's gorgeous. I think works for Google now.
Oh, okay.
What she's doing, I have no idea.
Okay. You know, I have a.
But Donnybrook
Yeah.
has done a nice job for many decades in the St. Louis market of being a great talk show about local news and state news, and at least trying to have all sides of the argument and all the voices there on the show.
But you have to admit, though, since Martin Dugan left, it show's gotten kind of lame. I love Charlie Brennan. He's a radio legend, a fixture, but he's kind of lame as the host. I mean, and I'll be honest with you, the whole show is lame, to be honest with you. Me and you need to be panelists on that show. The host, they've been there too long. They really need to shake it up. I hope this doesn't get back to any of them.
I like Charlie Brennan as a host, but he's in a tough place. So it's hard to replace the it's not like Martin Dugan was replaceable. It's not like that first batch of people, the back to the
Would you
80s.
agree they do need to change up the
Well,
cast?
They've had a lot in the last
It's
couple
Alvin
years,
Reed, Wendy Weiss, and the mustache guy from the Post-Dispatch. It's been those same people for 40 years, 30 years at least.
I like a lot of those same people.
But I have to admit, though, Donnybrook is kind of my thing, where if I've ever am a guest or something, I kind of feel like I've made it a little bit to be on Donnybrook. Now, I got close. A friend of mine from out of town, he used to do CNN hits. And where you do the remote hits are down by Channel 9. And he did those for CNN. And so while he was doing his remote hit, I was kind of wandering around and everything. And I stumbled upon the Donnybrook set and took a picture of myself on it like I was a guest. So I have that somewhere.
You have made it, Chris. Let me assure you.
No, I have not made it until I have been on Donnybrook.
No one would forget your name like that Bill McClellan, who's its face guy, mustache guy, whatever.
Mustache guy. I'm terrible at names. If anybody that listens to this show knows I can barely remember my own name half the time.
He's coming to the station and been on the Right Mind show with Todd
Oh,
Showalter.
really?
He came across the aisle and hung out with us. It was fun to talk to him.
He came across the aisle when I was working for Bill Corrigan in the 2011 St. Louis County executive race. What's his name?
Mustache face Bill McClellan.
Bill McClellan was at the watch party because everybody thought Bill was going to win that night. It was festive. We were all happy. And then, we were ahead like 3/4 of the night. And as you know, Dave, as an elections politics guy, when those North County votes start coming in, we just saw the lead just
they come in late and they come in heavy.
Exactly. We had a good, healthy lead all night. We were celebrating. Bill McClellan was like, "Oh, it looks like Bill Corrigan is going to be the next county executive. Congratulations," and blah blah. And man, that was a very, very disappointing night. I got to tell you, because we worked very, very hard. Bill Corrigan, one of the nicest guys you will ever meet in your life. He would have been a great county executive. And one of the things that make that why I hold Bill Corrigan in such high esteem is because when we were in the war room watching the results, and it looked like that we probably weren't going to win. And everyone has the, Dave, you've been there. You have the sad election face because you've lost, and we're all moping around. And Bill Corrigan was pumping us up, trying to make us feel good. Hey, you did a good job. Hey, this isn't the end, blah. And we're all sad. And I'll never forget that. When he had every right to be sad and disappointed, his first thought was to try to buck up his campaign staff. So I have high respect for Bill Corrigan for that. And he's a hard campaign worker too. When we were doing parades and stuff, oh my God, he jogged the parade routes. He doesn't just walk them because he's a jogger. So good experience working for Bill Corrigan.
I do. He's a great guy.
Bill Corrigan. All right. What's this? Oh, Transportation Secretary NASA and NASA Administrator Sean Duffy, Dave, has announced that we are building a nuclear reactor on the moon. Documents show that NASA has already weighed installing a reactor on the lunar surface. Though Duffy's plan laid out a more specific timeline, the reactor's directive orders this agency to solicit industry proposals for a 100 kilowatt nuclear reactor to launch by 2030. What do you think, David, of a nuclear reactor on the moon?
Well, it sounds great. I'd like another couple nuclear reactors here in Missouri first. I think we need a few dozen more nuclear reactors here down in the United States to help power our AI. We were just talking about AI and all the data centers.
My big concern.
We need those nuclear centers here.
Here's my big concern with nuclear power, David. I know it's clean. I know it's efficient. I know it's almost limitless. What do we do with the waste? There has never been a good plan to dispose of the waste properly. And that was really brought to my attention when we had tsunami in Japan and those fuel rods that were in the water, and everybody was worried about the tsunami disrupting those fuel rods that are being cooled off in the water, and what a disaster that could have been. So there's never been a good plan yet for me.
Well, it's sort of a good example of the failures of politics, in that they had a good plan many years ago to store them in Yucca Mountain, Nevada. But because the majority leader of the United States Senate at that time was from Nevada, he was single-handedly able, this was former Senator Harry Reid, to stop that plan. So it was an excellent plan to find one safe place
just
to
dump
store
it in a
all
mountain.
of it. They were going to do a little more than just dump it. I think they had a way to set it into the mountain.
Oh,
safely.
set it into the mountain.
Set it, but he was able to stop it, which was very unfortunate, because that was a good plan.
That is David Stokes of the Show Me Institute, but he was here on his own accord today. David, thank you for sitting in. Really, really enjoyed it. I knew it was going to be fun. Next is Larry Connors, USA. He's going to talk about Israel having a new plan for Gaza, and the FCC wants to give more control to local radio stations. You've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs.